Everyone has a precious childhood memories they held on to. It's not just until you grow up when you realize those memories are truly nightmares. I had recently finished my final year at school and decided to enjoy my last summer vacation at my hometown. It sounds strange, since college is where all the parties and fun summer events are held. Also, since this was the last time I could enjoy such events, but I've gotten a taste of it last year, and it's not my type of thing. My parents really rarely use my childhood home anymore. They only use it at the beginning of each year for a month or two, so I decided to live there for the time being. My parents told me that they were fine with it over a phone call saying, as long as I can pay the bills. Which I was fine with it. I hadn't been in my hometown for a year, so I lost my job as a grocery store bagger. So I decided to resort to newspaper ads, since I was too lazy to go driving around or searching for one online. I have flipped for the employment section of the newspaper. Babysitter? No. Exterminator? Nah. Newspaper delivery? Nope. I found a good 5 minutes of scanning until I came across a rather interesting one. It was a job for one of my favorite childhood places, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Freddy was an awesome place that my mother took me to whenever my father wasn't in town or I just behaved long enough to get a special treat. Unfortunately, the job for a security guard during the night, not my ideal position, but I just couldn't turn down Freddy. I immediately circled the ad with my pen and called up the pizzeria. They said that I could have a job without getting an interview, and they asked for my name, Mike Schmed, and my age, 23. When I was told that I should start this fall, November to be exact, I was a little surprised. This fall? I began to rethink even working there. But then I remember all the cash I had earned on my job in college. I'd have enough money to get a couple of months before November. I decided to take the job. Yes, I cheered, knowing that I would have a job at one of my favorite childhood places ever. And the job doesn't take up much of my time during my day. When I went upstairs to my old room to sleep, knowing that I'd be alright doing this job coming in winter, the next day, I decided to take a little tour of my hometown. I did a good walk down Main Street, went through the community park, and even passed by Freddy's. It was good to look at the place again. I didn't want to go inside because I'm sure people would find it weird for a grown man with no child to walk into a children's place of happiness. Basically, I'd look like a child predator. While walking down one of the busiest streets of my hometown, I saw a newspaper article saying, "Murder case of 5 children reopens." In bold letters on top, I didn't want to take a big long glance at it, but then I realized that the picture to go along with the title was Freddy Fazbear. I was so confused, so I decided to take a copy and read it. Supposedly, a man dressed up like Freddy Fazbear had lured children away from their parents to kill them. I was shocked and disgusted with whoever would do this. The next couple of months weren't eventful. None of my childhood friends returned home like I did. Even knowing I was here, I saw some of the old relatives that my parents had fought about visiting me, but blew it off. Heck, I even went out on 2 dates with this beautiful girl, who I realized she was just using me to get back at her ex. I didn't really know anything special besides that. Just lied about it on my couch, watching movies and TV shows. Things went on and on like that until November came. November 8th to be exact. It was my first day on the job and I had little money left, so it was good to finally get started on an income again. Night 1 was Monday night and I was just about to head out to the pizzeria. I was a bit excited and worried for the same time. Excited that I was starting a new job at one of my favorite childhood spots, and worried because I'd be there all night. I was planning on sleeping the whole day to rest up for the next night, but just couldn't fall asleep. Oh well, I said to myself, not giving it too much thought. When I arrived at Freddy's, a man was waiting outside for me. Hello, are you the owner here? I asked. Who wants to know? He responded. I'm Mike Schmeds, and I'm here just for a night watch job, I said. Oh yes, how could I forget? Who else could be here at 12 a.m.? He chuckled. Neighborhood watch? I asked, laughing slightly. Are you the one who's going to teach me the basics? I continued. No, I'm just the owner. As you guessed, I'm here just to give you a pair of keys to the place. Your mentor left a message for you in the security office. Well, here you go. He handed me the keys. Remember, your shift always starts at 12 a.m. and it doesn't end until 6 a.m. You got it? He asked, sounding a bit anxious. Yes, of course, sir, I replied. Good. Well, good night, son. Don't mess this up or else you're out, he said, walking towards his car. Good night, I called, but I do not think he heard me. When I left the door open to my place, fortunately he left it unlocked for me. Not that much of a deal of it, after all. I had the keys. Then I looked around the place and saw a huge sense of nostalgia hitting me like a enormous wave. I then recalled sitting at one of the party tables with my mother and friends, eating pizza and watching Freddy and the band sing. I then looked to the stage. There they were, Freddy, Chica, and Bonnie. Oh, how nice it was to recite those names again. After I received my childhood memories, I then scanned off the rest of the building, looking for the security office. My guess was that he was at the back of the building, which it was. I peeked in to see if there was no one there, so I walked in the room somewhat annoyed by the sounds of the Rarity fan. I thought about turning it off when I realized how warm the room was. I had no choice but to keep it running. Also, I noticed a little beep sound going off every few seconds. I located that to be a message machine. I pressed the button and the voice came on. I was surprised and wondered who it was. Was it my mentor? Hello? Hi. I'm the old security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Hopefully you are getting this message. I need to explain to you what to do. No, I'm actually finishing my last week here, so that's why you're getting my job. I got my hours changed to 8 to 11:30 p.m. since I don't have to be up so late anymore. Sorry, that's your job now. Let me explain you the basics so you can get through your first week. Now, on the table you're hopefully at, you should see the tablet. I glanced over the table and saw that the man was right. There was a large tablet with a gray trim sitting on the table. I picked it up and turned it on. If you see it, turn it on. The first thing you should see is a camera view of the main show stage, along with a lot of different square buttons on the map. Those square buttons are actually security cameras that all you need to do is check every now and then and make sure someone or something doesn't break into the place. The map is actually quite a whole layout of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, so you can get a pretty good idea of where things are. Now I know that what you're thinking. Who in the right mind would sneak into a child's place of fun? People can't be the problem here. It's actually the animatronics. You know, Freddy and his pals. I was confused. I tapped each of the camera looking around to see if anything was in the building. There was nothing. What I mean by that, he continued, is that the animatronics get a little quirky at night. They were left in some sort of free roam mode at night for some reason and walk around the whole building. They are used to be able to do that during the day. But even there was a bite of 87. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that. But let's just say the shocking thing about the human body can survive without the frontal lobe. I was starting to get a little creeped out now. Checking the cameras again, once more to find nothing. I'm gonna go move on now. Now the characters are here. When they see you, will not see you as a worker because it's nighttime. They'll actually see you as an endoskeleton, without its costume on. Now, since it's against the rules there at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll try forcefully to shove you into a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that would not be too bad if it weren't for the suits being filled with animatronic devices and crossbeams, especially that they found in the facial area. So, you could understand that would cause a bit of discomfort and death. Only parts of your body you'll see in the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out of the front of the mask. I was absolutely shocked now. I didn't know what to do. I checked on the camera once more to see Bonnie was no longer on the stage. I was filled with fear and anxiety while I checked the rest of the cameras. Then I saw Bonnie standing in the audience area. I was so scared then I paid close attention to what the man said next. I just want you to know that there is nothing really to worry about. It may sound scary, yeah, but really you'll be fine. Now let me explain to you what happens if a character gets too close to you. The next to you are on the buttons for each door. One for closing the door, and the other for enabling the door lights. I tested it out and he was right. The doors of the lights would open and close and turn on and off on command. I was once again checked the cameras to see if Bonnie was in the hall next to me. I was prepared to close the door if it came closer. Frequently check those lights to see if a character is out there. Don't be worried at all. But if you ever do see a character, close the door. As soon as they are gone, you can open them back up. Also keep an eye on a specific character in Pirate Cove. He seems to respond if the camera is on or off for too long. Just don't worry, you'll be fine. The first day will be a breeze. Check on those cameras and yeah, make sure you don't run out of power. You'll only get a certain amount each night. Using all the appliances wastes more, so conserve it. Talk to you tomorrow. Good night. The message ended and I checked my cameras, and sure enough it had the power percentage there. It said I had 80%. Wow, 20% gone in 5 minutes. Maybe it's because I left the screens on all this time. That might be a bad idea. What else did he say? A character in Pirate Cove? I never remembered that place as a child. Then I checked through the cameras until I found Pirate Cove. There was a curtain there, but it was closed, and I took that as a good sign. Then I clicked anywhere in the hall to see where Bonnie was there. I came to a conclusion with that. The name like Bonnie must have been a girl. She wasn't there. I checked the camera to the closest next to me to see that she wasn't there either. I was confused. She wouldn't just leave the area. I then decided to go check on the door lights. Nothing on the right. Then I checked to my left in disbelief. There was Bonnie, staring at me. I smashed that door button as hard as I can. Possibly I could. I was terrified, but then realized that they weren't real people trying to hurt me. They were just robots. I calmed down and pressed the door on the light to see if I could see Bonnie's shadow or something. There was nothing that showing Bonnie was there. Hesitantly, I left the door open. To my surprise, Bonnie wasn't there. The night went on pretty similar to that. Bonnie got closer to me a few times, and the curtain at Pirate Cove opened a bit, but I saw nothing in there. Chica and Freddy stayed on the stage, thankfully, and I finished the night with 14% of power to spare. I overcame my fears of them trying to kill me, as I simply thought that they were just trying to play. I left Freddy's and went home that night and slept the day away. I was exhausted. Night 2. After I grabbed some dinner at McDonald's and drove over to Freddy's, this time there was a vehicle just leaving. I didn't know who it was, but it didn't come to the same car as my boss when he had drove away last night. I shrugged it off and got out of my car. I unlocked the door and then glanced at the robots. They seemed to have been looking at me, but I was facing head on them, and they were probably just left in that position. I headed back in the security office and saw that once again I had another message. I pressed play. Hello, hello. Well, if you're hearing this, if you made it to day 2, congrats. There's nothing really I have to say tonight than to emphasize the use of the door lights. There are in fact blind spots in your camera views. Those blind spots happen to be just outside your door. So just remember to check those frequently. Well, that's it. Talk to you tomorrow. Good night. I took what the account said and checked my door lights. Nothing. I then began to check my cameras. The gang was still on stage and didn't move. I decided that I would check Pirate Cove Place and saw that the curtain was far enough open that I saw a figure in there. Some sort of dog? I wasn't sure it was switched off the cameras to conserve power. I left them on for a solid minute before I checked them again. I saw that the curtain was all the way open of Pirate Cove, and that figure was just standing outside of it. I got a better view now of what appeared to be a fox. They quickly checked the main stage and Bonnie was gone, but Chica and Freddy were still there. I checked each camera and saw that Bonnie was once again in the main audience area. Just like last night, I checked Pirate Cove again and saw that there was nothing there. The curtain was wide open and the figure wasn't there. I checked each camera close to Pirate Cove until I got to the West Hall. I saw that fox sprinting down the hallway. My body tensed up as I was filled with pure fear. I smashed the door quicker and harder than last night, then heard banging on the door, as if someone wanted to get inside. After that, I heard footsteps moving away from it. Just as if I left it, just to be cautious, I checked Pirate Cove and saw that the curtain was closed. I thought that it meant that it returned, so I opened the door back up. I quickly checked the door lights on both sides. To my surprise, Bonnie was outside my left-hand door. I hit the door button again and filled with fear, and waited for Bonnie to leave. The night went on very similarly, when Foxy ran down the hallway again, and Bonnie came close to me a few more times. Fortunately, Chica and Freddy stayed on the stage like last night. Why don't they leave the stage like Bonnie and the Fox, I wonder? I left the place when my shift was over and saw that Bonnie was back up on stage. I didn't even want to think of Pirate's Cove, since I've actually seen the bot in there move. I began to think that it was just a strange way of these animatronics acted. I headed home and went to sleep. Night free. This time I went to Freddy's a bit earlier, before my shift and after the other guard left. I didn't really want to wait in the middle of the night to arrive, which was somewhat frightened me. I also got there while the owner said I was still there. I said hi to him and he just gave me a low, like if he was saying hey or I really don't feel like talking. I sat in the security office playing games on my phone until its battery went out, which was conveniently at 11:57 p.m. I completely forgot to check the message machine nightly message. I don't know how it was even possible to tune out that constant beep of the dang thing. Maybe it was because of my headphones. But that was barely even up. Anyway, I pressed play. Hello? Hello? Wow, you made it through night free. Great work. Most people don't make it this far. I mean, they moved on to other things. I'm not implied that they died, but yeah, didn't mean that. I chuckled a bit when he said that. Now, I really don't want to talk about much since Freddy and his pals became more active further in the week goes on. I should have told you that before, but I forgot, sorry. Make sure you check those cameras while I talk, just to be safe. I began to check the cameras. Nothing. Everyone was still in their proper spots. Also, here's a tip I just came up with. If any of the animatronics see you and you can't close the door, then just play dead. Like, go limp and they'll probably think you're an empty costume. Then again, if you were an empty costume, they may try to put an endoskeleton in you. I don't know if that would work, but yeah, scratch that. Just don't get caught. Well, I'm done. See you on the flip side. The message ended, and I checked the cameras again. They were all out. West Hall, East Hall, Pirate Cove. Every single camera was out. I was trying to check the camera outside when I realized that they turned back on. Then I checked the main stage and Chica was gone. Not Bonnie, Chica. This kind of surprised me. Bonnie was the first one to always leave, but why not now? I began to check around when I found Chica in the audience area, staring directly at me from behind the table. The way she was facing, I also think she's a she, wasn't towards me, but her face was. This chilled my bones. Why were they staring directly at the cameras? Do they know I'm watching them? No AI should be able to know that. The cameras went dark again and I checked the door lights. There was nothing there. When they came back, Bonnie was gone. Thankfully, Freddy was still there, and I checked Pirate Cove and the curtain was closed. I then phoned both Bonnie and Chica on the opposite halls. Chica was in the east hall, while Bonnie was in the west. This filled me to the brim with fear. I was surrounded, and there was nothing I could do. I checked the door lights. There was nothing on the left, and I checked on the right, and there was Chica, staring at me through the glass window. I stared at it first, but then stared at it long enough for a couple seconds. I then saw it twitch. I jumped for the door switch, and that door switch was not something an AI could do. Well, if they could twitch, if they were broken, but not like a human like Chica did, I checked the lights. Chica was still out there, and I checked there, and Bonnie was at the right. I was more startled by Bonnie because I swear his mouth was moving up and down, almost as if he was eating. From outside, this caused me to immediately hit the door button. I was surrounded more than I was in the halls. I could absolutely do nothing to pray. I didn't open the doors for the rest of the night. It caused me to all lose my power before 6 a.m. Praying that paid off. Nothing came to get me. I didn't leave the security office until the owner showed up because I was so scared. He didn't care and told me to leave because my shift was over. I went home and just watched movies. I didn't find the courage to fall asleep. Knowing I had nightmares, I stayed up straight away until my next shift. Night 4. I got to the place at 11:50. As soon as I entered, I ran straight to the back of the building. I didn't even have the bravery to look at those animatronics in the eyes. It sounded silly, but it was true. When I entered the office, it was very messy. There were some papers on the floor, the fan flung across the room, and the camera screen had a small crack in it. Strange, I thought, as I pressed play button on the message machine. Hello? Wow, day 4, good job. The man sounded dull and non-quirky, like he always is. I also heard a loud banging sound in the message. I was beginning to get a little creeped out. Hey, I may not be around to send you any more messages. It's been a bad night here. I was beginning to wonder what exactly was going on. Started to get a small sense of anxiety rising in my stomach. Hey, if you get the chance, can you check in one of those suits in the back? I might be... The sound of the familiar voice tune cut him off. It was a tune that Freddy always used as part of his act. Could Freddy be doing something with this man? Oh no, he finished. The voice kept on going as loud as a sound as another thing scream. Along with a very loud cracking sound, I was terrified, shocked with fear, and could not move. What happened to him? Did he just die? That explained the place in the mess, but how did this happen? It sounded like something impossible. No computer program creation could act like this, even if it was malfunctioning. I just sat there for an hour, not looking at the cameras or the door lights. I was terrified to do anything. What snapped me out of my daze was the sound of heavy footsteps approaching me on the right. I didn't even have to check the door lights. I didn't even have to look at the cameras. I ran out of that room right to the face, whatever this thing was making footsteps was. I was confident, angry, and scared at the same time. As soon as I entered the East Hall, all those feelings left me except for fear. There, looking straight at me, were a pair of white eyes. I just looked at them until it began moving forward and started laughing. It sounded just like Freddy's voice. There was also no doubt that I was facing was Freddy. I ran straight back into the security office. As soon as I entered, I began hearing footsteps coming from a full speed after me, and the other door, I closed that door where Freddy was just in time. As soon as I was about to close the other door, I saw the fox. He was running straight towards me, mouth open and tears all over, revealing its innards. I pressed the door button right before it entered, and its nose being less than a foot away from me, I sat and let the power drain. By 2 a.m., I was at 72%. By 3, I was at 49%. At 4 a.m., it was at 28%. And at 5:30, it was at 12. I didn't know if I could survive. I began to not care. I was slipping away. One of my favorite childhood memories have been turned into a nightmare. I woke up to my boss shaking me. He told me that it was 7 a.m. and I needed to go home. There had been an accident. When I asked him about it, he said I should not worry and just get some rest. He appeared to not care that I was sleeping on the job and just letting me go without saying a word in the matter. As I was leaving, I smelled this very foul odor in my main strange area, and the bots have appeared to have red marks around their eyes. I thought that I was just imagining them, as I do experience hallucinations from time to time, but a part of me was telling that those marks were real. When I stepped out, there were a lot of police cars out there, and I saw some policemen talking to the owner, and others writing down information. I also saw that car a couple nights ago when I arrived at my shift, parking outside the parking lot. It had a caution tape around it, which caused me to believe that it belonged to my mentor. When I got home, all I did was research to find some info on the old security guard. After a good 2 hours of research, I came across the Todd Smith name. I believe that it could be a name of the man I'm looking for, but I'm not sure. I thought about just asking my boss for his name tomorrow. I just had to get some sleep. Night 5. I didn't want to go to work at all. I was so terrified, but I had no choice. I needed the money and needed to be better worth it. I arrived at the police place and my boss was waiting outside for me. "Hello, sir," I greeted. "Shut your mouth," he replied. I was surprised. "Excuse me? Is there a problem?" I asked. "Yeah, there is." He began moving towards me. "That old security guard guy whose job you took. He's dead," he finished. You're kidding me, right?" I asked. I knew he was dead. I just didn't want to believe it. "No, I ain't kidding. The funny thing is that you're the only person that could have been there with him when it happened," he said. "So what are you saying?" I questioned. "Oh, quit playing innocent. You know that you killed him. I have no evidence other than you being with him at the time of the incident. I will find more evidence, and you will be locked up," he finished. "Sir, I could tell you that I had never even met the person, and I did commit this crime," I replied. "Then who did it? An intruder? If there are no signs of forced entry, the animatronics? Impossible." He didn't want me to finish. He then just stormed away to his car and drove away. I then entered and sprinted to the security office. I wanted just to get this night over with. And the place I can only see the animatronics is on the cameras, not anywhere else. I entered the office and I saw it had a message. It was from my boss, so I pressed play and I was completely wrong. What I heard was a deep voice of saying a bunch of gibberish, along with a couple of screams. The voice sounded a bit like Freddy's, and I'm sure it was. With the way back we've been acting, I'm not surprised if they left this horrid message. I can't even figure out what it was saying, which it frightened me even further. I immediately picked up the tablet and began checking on the stage and Pirate Cove. Those places where those creatures originate, so my safest bet was to watch those places carefully. The camera then went dark. I then began to hear pots and pans shuffling in the background. This made me tense up, because I knew one of those things were making those noises. When the cameras came back on, I checked everywhere for the animatronics. Freddy was still on the stage. Thankfully, but Bonnie and Chica were gone. The curtain in Pirate's Cove was halfway open, but it wasn't my main concern now. I then tried to locate Bonnie and Chica. I found Bonnie at the camera free, and she was just staring at me through the camera with her face up so close that I could see her endoskeleton eyes. As I began to scan around for Chica, but I couldn't find her. I checked the door lights and Chica was outside with her jaw open. I closed the door to avoid her getting in. As soon as I did that, I began to hear Freddy's tune play. I checked on the cameras and saw that Freddy was in the audience area, and I could only see those white eyes. I checked the door lights and saw Chica was gone too. So I opened the door and checked the cameras again. Bonnie and Chica were now standing on the opposite sides of Freddy. I checked Pirate Cove and the curtain was wide open. I closed the door immediately, knowing soon the fox would be here. I then checked the cameras and saw laying next to Bonnie was that fox. Its eyes were wide open, but it was limp. The camera then went black, and then Freddy's tune then got slower and more demonic sounding. The camera then came back on, and I saw now in front of the whole gang was a limp Freddy Fazbear suit, with its eyes peeking out in front of the mask, with streams of blood stained down sockets. The camera went very dark again, and the tune picked up speed gradually. I began to hear footsteps close at every angle. I then hit both on the doors that shut as soon as I could. Then I blacked out. I woke up banging on the door and checked the time, 5:55 a.m. I checked the cameras and saw that each animatronic was in their respective spot. I thought my boss had showed up early and wanted to come in, so I opened the door. When I did, I saw that it was the same Freddy Fazbear suit with the eyes poking out in front. It was sure enough that I could see some teeth, but it didn't look too close. Last thing I noticed was that the bib on its chest, and it was the same as Chica's, only there was dry blood on it. I ran away, left the building, drove away as fast as I could. 2 days later, I received a letter in the email with my check from Freddy's and a "you're fired" note. I didn't care. I wanted a different job now, and I didn't want to spend another day at that place. I contacted the authorities and told them about what I've experienced in that place, but they told me I should get some rest. Yeah, right. What happened to this place for kids was not right. There was something wrong. I hear this place scheduled to close down soon, but have a grand reopening the next year. All I know is that whatever went on in there could not be achieved by an AI controlled suit. I now can see truly loved as a kid was all a big, nightmarish lie. And that, my little pretties, was my summer job, a Five Nights at Freddy's Creepypasta, written by DaPuff712. My final thoughts on this story? I actually thought this was a pretty good one. Now, I remember this was on Reddit at one point before the user deleted their Reddit account, but the story's on Reddit, but this was actually reposted on the Summer Gamers Wiki. And this is basically a Five Nights at Freddy's creepypasta. I do remember Creepypasta Jr. actually narrated it, and he said it was pretty good, and I honestly have to say it's a good pasta. You know, this is basically coming from someone who did, you know, the Five Nights at Freddy's, you know, the job, and, you know, everything about this story, I honestly have to say, is pretty good. I like the concept of this and all that. Especially the fact that I haven't, watched Five Nights at Freddy, well, played Five Nights at Freddy's in a long time. I mean, I've seen a couple gameplay videos on it. I've seen a couple animations of people doing the animations of it, and I honestly thought it was cool. But with that being said, I honestly thought it was a neat story. It does have a great concept. I do like how the story went out, as well as the good grammar in that. So, to the offer of the story, this one was good. I definitely gonna really say that right now. It was a very good story. So, it's on Summer Gamers Wiki. That's where I read the story. It was reposted, so you guys can go and have a look at the story if you want to. So, I mean, yeah, feel free to state your own thoughts and opinions on this story. I honestly thought it was pretty good. I liked the concept, the good grammar. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but I honestly could see that, you know, this is actually probably what happened with the protagonist of the story who got the job or something. I mean, pretty good, actually. So, with that being said, I honestly thought this story was awesome. So, I recommend you guys give it a read if you haven't, because it's a pretty good story. So, I guess with that being said and with that being the case, like I'm just going to say, this is not really a super long review. I honestly really found this to be a really great story. So, I guess with that being the case and with that being said, like I said, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story is a 10 out of 10. Really good pastas, definitely well made. I like the concept. I honestly thought it was a pretty awesome story, especially with the Five Nights at Freddy's concept. So, with that being said, what did you guys think about this story? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're new to this channel, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.